Hi, Matthew, and thanks again for having me on. My name is Timothy Froude. I'm President and CEO of Sokoman Minerals Corp, a TSX venture listed junior explorer focused on gold primarily in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. Our flagship property, the Moosehead, has had a pivotal past few months, and that will be advancing the project for this first ever bulk sample in the first quarter of 2025, followed by a second bulk sample in the second quarter of the year. And we'll also be spinning out our lithium asset into a publicly traded vehicle, hopefully in early Q1 2025, probably at a good time to take advantage of some opportunities that may exist in the market.
Tim, good to see you. Been a while, so I appreciate you coming on for an update. Tough year 2024. It's tough year 2023, quite frankly. And I could keep going, it seems. And I think the name of the game is really kind of stay at the table and remain relevant and give people an opportunity to kind of look at what you're doing. So how do you view 2024? Let's start with that. I don't mean to be clever.
Well, you can't put a bad enough word on it, Matt. You have that right. In fact, we're now at all-time lows, which is embarrassing, but it is it is a fact, and we're not the only ones in that boat. I think 2025, for many reasons, will be much better for Sokoman and hopefully as a sector as a whole, not just us. As I mentioned, we're going to be advancing Moosehead for the first time towards the bulk sample stage, a critical development in the project's development, and again the spin out of our lithium assets. Finally, after almost 9-month process of trying to get it listed, at a time when I think. There could be a lot of opportunities out there for Vinland. It's going to be a low float. It's a finance company already with a couple $1 million in the treasury. So we'll be, and of course our partner, we'll be going through some significant changes. If you've caught the news on Piedmont, they'll actually be merging with Sayona, the company that was actually supplying them with their concentrate for the past year or two. And but we've been told business as usual. Let's get this vehicle listed and see where we can go from there. So I think 2025 has no option but to be a much better year for Sokoman.
Okay, well, look, I do want to talk about the gold aspect because obviously the gold market has gone on an absolute tear. I want to sort of understand what the dynamics of that are for Explore Coast. So let's deal with the lithium bit first and try and understand. Okay, what is it that you've got? What is being spun out? And what does that look like? And what's the upside for shareholders in reality into a market which is not exactly dying to see too many more new lithium stories, it feels like at the moment. So what are you doing?
Well, we're spinning out the discovery we made about 3 years ago on a gold project. All of our properties start out life as a gold company. That's who we want to be, and spinning out a lithium asset is certainly following along that path. So we made a discovery of lithium on a gold project we have in southwestern Newfoundland, a JV with Benton Resources. And in about 18 months after discovery, we turned a couple of $1 million investment into a $24 million exploration commitments and cash and share payment deal with Piedmont Lithium. Piedmont's probably a name most people know more recently for a merger with a mining company called Sayona, Australian-based Sayona, who have the only hard rock operating lithium mine in North America in Quebec. So that merger will create basically it's the full vehicle. Basically, it will be a miner, and with Piedmont's plans to build a battery and production plant in the U.S., we stand with the spin out of Vinland to benefit from the synergies that will create. There's probably a property pipeline that may actually be something we may be able to access. Obviously, our partners. Would certainly look to a partner that they partly own as a vehicle to move things forward. So even though people are still maybe not in love with lithium right now, Matt, I think the timing of this and the opportunity, plus the connectivity with Piedmont, well, I guess we don't know what the company's going to be called yet, but with the merged company, the windfalls could be quite substantial.
Okay. And how does Vinland Lithium, the new co, actually benefit? Okay, you got $2 million in there now, but if Sayona and Piedmont are doing something, surely they're going to be busy. They've got a lot of things on their plate. These integration of these mergers is nightmarish. They've got assets of their own. How does Vinland Lithium benefit?
Well, again, this is just speculation on my part, and of course, none of this has even been, broadly mentioned. In fact, the merger itself will probably take 6 to 8 months to complete, and then they'll probably start dealing with that. But in the meantime, we've been speaking with our people at Piedmont, and it's business as usual. Let's get this vehicle listed, and then let's look towards the 2025 season. Obviously, the asset that we have in Vinland is an earlier stage project, but one that Piedmont didn't pick just by happen chance. They reviewed a lot of properties on several continents and settled on our Killick project as one that had most of the X's ticked off in the boxes that they were looking for. So infrastructure close to markets, 30 kilometers from the ocean, et cetera, et cetera. These operations are, after all, big earth-moving operations, and logistics and just getting the material to market is a large part of what would make the project economic in these times. So, we know the grades are there. We know we get 1% plus in drill holes over significant widths, and really, and the listing process over the past few months. We've got some news that we'd like to get out on the exploration front from this past summer, and I think the market would like to hear that as well. So. Again, it's cashed. It's got a couple $1 million in the bank, 10 million shares in total, and could be a vehicle of choice for the partners to put other assets in. I'm not saying that's going to happen, and that's just my musing.
Okay. So I just want to be clear, because there's a lot of moving parts there. So basically, you've got an asset which Piedmont has looked at and said, this Killick project that you've got. They've looked at this and said, there's something here we'd like to be involved with in some way, shape, or form. You have, with Benton Resources, formed a joint venture called Vinland Lithium.
Yep.
Piedmont so far said they will fund they paid $2 million to get 19.9% of the ownership. So
yes.
Stop me when I forget this wrong. They've said that they will also fund 12 million Canadian of exploration expenses managed by you and Benton, or Sokoman and Benton, right? That's the kind of makeup of the structure of this thing. So can I be clear? The 2 million has already gone in as equity. So is that right?
Yes, it is.
Right. And so you've got 2 million of funding for exploration for 2024. Have you spent that?
No, it's still sitting in the bank. So
still saying that. Do you need to spend that by a certain deadline? And again, how does it work?
Well, the commitment really for the expenditures still fall to Piedmont, or I guess the merged company. That will, because they committed to 12 million in exploration over the next, I think it's 36 months. And
that'll be conditional, right? So that'll be like, we'll spend this, and we'll spend a certain amount in year 1, year 2, year 3. Is that how does that work?
Yes, and they could spend forward. Yep, they could spend forward if they wanted to. If they wanted to break out 4 or 5 or 6 drills and spend like crazy and earn that full ownership in a quicker time period, that's fine. But given the market conditions, they're probably going to want to inch it along until the seas are a little calmer for lithium.
So they're going to work. There's no set pace. There's no set right. You must spend X amount year 1, 2, or 3. This is like, we'll take a look at the market for lithium and work out the pace at which we want to move. But is it in theory, or is it with no conditions precedent? We will spend 12 million, or is there a firm commitment that they will spend any? I'm trying to work out. I'm trying to work out. Vinland, is it open and exposed to the vagaries of the lithium market, or is this something that people will be quietly getting on with drilling in the background in the meantime? How does it work?
Well, it is staged, and I do believe the commitment for 2025 would have been 2 million in exploration.
Okay.
So, but again, it's at their discretion if they wanted to increase that amount. If we get a hot hole and they want to follow up on it and bring some more rigs in, that's fine.
Okay.
And of course, we want to be.
But it's a minimum of 2, Tim.
Yeah.
But if they want to spend quicker, they can. But it's a minimum of 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Understood. Right. And who's is I know it talks about you and Benton managing that. Do you share management fees in that?
No, Benton is the operator. They were operator
Okay.
from from day one, even before Piedmont came along. So what
Wow.
we've done is we've set up committees. We've chosen a board now, and we've set up some committees. There will be an exploration committee consisting of members from all three companies and an independent, and basically it'll operate as any other junior explorer will, kind of on its own, but with parents looking over the shoulder, sort of thing.
The only way it should be done. Yes. Right. Okay. Okay. So I guess we'll have to wait to see. So there's no drilling expected to come anytime soon. You're not going to be announcing drill results anytime soon because you haven't done
No,
them.
actually, there was no
Okay.
drilling in 2024. In the second half of 2024, basically, we had a field crew out, basically continuing on with still the boot and hammer work that needs to be done. It's a very large property, Matt, and there was still a lot to do. We've expanded again. We've got news probably coming quite soon, before maybe even Christmas or even mid-December on a whole bunch of things, prospecting and geochem. They're lower level type of news, but what they're signifying is even more targets that will require some drilling at the end of the day. So, this work did bear fruit, and we're looking forward to getting it out to the market as well.
Okay. So there's some underlying data which is going to allow you to do
Yep.
some targeting.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And this 2 million is going to spend on drilling, not on surface.
Not necessarily. It'll be spent based on where the need is. Obviously, we'd like to see some more drilling take place, because we've got open-ended zones of mineralization that you could just park the drill next to where you finished the last hole and the last zone, sort of thing. But there's still a lot of earlier stage work that needs to be done. Now, if they want to focus on, say, the main zones that we've got identified, which are quite large and all of them are open, to get an idea as if there is a possible early stage resource here, I'm all for that, because we need to make Vinland an entity with some sustenance to it, as opposed to just an early stage project.
Right. Okay. But there has been some historic drilling on it. So I've looked at some looked at some high grades, surface sampling, etc. But there's also looked at some historic drill data over 1%.
Oh yes.
Who did all of that?
That was paid for by most of it was paid for by Benton and Sokoman, with the last phase of drilling partially subsidized with Piedmont money.
Right. So that data's gone over into Vinland
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
will be used as part of the targeting exercise.
Absolutely.
Okay. Got it. Okay. No more to be said about that one for now. Let's go. I'm doing everything in reverse order here. So let's get a Fleur de Lys, if you don't mind. So we're back on gold, folks, for listening, watching, reading this. We're back on gold. Fleur de Lys. So today, what do we know? What have we got?
Well, we just finished our first drill program, and for all due respect to Matt, really the first holes ever drilled into this project. There was one hole put in 1988 by Noranda that did return some anomalous gold, but a couple of hundred ppb back in 1988, that's not much to go on. So, and besides, Noranda had other fish to fry in the same general area, but they basically walked away. So we took on a project that hadn't really been explored in any great detail for almost 4 decades. And we're targeting high-grade Irish type gold, I'll call it, probably the most significant. Yeah, the most significant gold deposit in this whole mountain belt that stretches between the UK, goes through Newfoundland and down into the Appalachians, is a property called Cernult in County Tyrone, Northern Ireland. It's got 6 million ounces of gold in it, and still open. It's a big deposit, and it sits in exactly the same geological setting as our Fleur de Lys. Big difference being there's a gold deposit over there. We just had a handful of geochemical anomalies 2 years ago. So we dressed it up to a point where, it's time to drill. So just very recently, we completed a 23-hole, 2,400-meter program. 23 holes, exactly. Assays are pending really soon. We're hung up on a few last-minute stragglers basically, if we get any assays over a gram per ton, it gets recycled back into the system and gets metallic sieve analysis done on it, just in case there's some nuggety gold in there. So we're still waiting for a few of those to finalize our final package, and everything will come out in one press release. And I'm looking forward to 2025 at Fleur de Lys. Can't say much because we don't have the news out, but I like what I'm seeing there. There's little sniffs of systems of potential all over the place. Everywhere we drilled. I drilled 23 holes. I could have drilled 23 more, and would like to very soon.
Right. Okay. So people listening, watching this, look out for assays up and coming. What does 2025 look like on the basis that, if you seem to like what you're seeing so far, does this get priority over Moosehead or not?
Well, we won't compromise moving forward with Moosehead, and of course you're always at the mercy of the market and how much money can you raise, and et cetera, et cetera. Because we can explore so cheaply here, I think we will have a phase 2 program at some point in either Q1 or Q2 at Fleur de Lys. But like I said, I'm committed to doing the first of 2 bulk samples, maybe as early as January, February at Moosehead. And I've never taken a bulk sample before, so the cost of that will obviously be known after the fact. So Moosehead will always take priority, as it should. But like I said, we still have a beautiful project at Fleur de Lys that. And Matt, that drilling program only took place in the northern half of the property. I mean, we still haven't addressed. Now that's where the highest priority targets were. But there are also targets in the southern half that, it's not always your best targets that end up getting you the best results, as anyone who's been in this business long enough knows. So, but I'm committed to Moosehead first, and whatever's left will certainly be put to good use at Fleur de Lys.
Okay. So, well, in which case, like, you've got assays coming out. I don't want to kind of drill down there. We've kind of be going over old ground here. Let's go to Moosehead. I think you shot out of the gates quite strongly in 2020 and certainly well into 2021, and then it's been a tough road since. And I think you and quite a few others obviously riding on their success of Newfoundland Gold, and some of the numbers that they're putting out there, and some of the numbers you subsequently put out there, but the shine's come off of that whole story, it seems. So what gives you confidence about what you're seeing at Moosehead when you see what's going on at Newfoundland Gold?
Well, I agree with you. The shine has definitely gone off display, and I think for no other reason than we sometimes can be the victim of our own success. Now, Moosehead, you're right. It has been the first 3 years were full of multiple double-digit type grades and thickness assays, and lately they've been harder to come by. But maybe the easy stuff, and that's basically where we've been focused, is very shallow, Matt. We continue to find, and just the results of our most recent activity at Moosehead, the trenching, has exposed a vein system that could potentially unlock a zone that we had thought had been kind of defined, and so it's high grade nuggety gold vein systems are notorious as well for trying to nail them down. But we just announced a 1,500 meter program at Moosehead based on uncovering this new east-west trending vein system that we didn't know existed in the western trend. And the first 4 holes, I'll say this, the first 4 holes of the 1,500 meters are all short, shallow, less than 100 meters, have intersected gold-bearing quartz veins. So this is going to affect basically a lot of things. We're going to now revisit some areas of the property where we kind of hit the wall in a similar sort of setting as the west trend. But maybe it didn't give it enough thought. As well, it could affect as well, ultimately, the shape and size, and not the size so much because we are committed to 1,000 cubic meters, but how we collect the bulk sample at the western trend, because that's where the conventional bulk sample that will take place in Q1 will come from. Basically, it was the reason why we dug the trench there, was to expose an area that would be suitable for that we hope will be suitable for a bulk sample. And boy, did we get a winner. It's just unfortunate that the property is, to date, most of the known gold mineralization either sits underneath a body of water or a very wet swamp where, it's pretty well impossible unless you dam up the place and put dikes and everything around, very costly and permitting. It's not easy to do. So the fact that this trench opened up this, for us, I think is a gift. And, we're going to run with it.
Okay, so it's quite wet around there. There's lots of lakes, and it adds the cost of this thing, and it doesn't help when money's expensive or hard to come by. But I'm just trying to look at lessons learned from some of the other countries, not necessarily just Newfoundland gold, but others who've kind of hunting for gold and in this style, this super, super high grade veining that we see. I think one CEO who's worked in the area sort of described it as if it's like taking a sort of bag of carrots up in a helicopter and then sort of dropping them down from 2,000 feet, and the way that the gold can be dispersed, and that's in 2D, let alone 3D. So it's an expensive process of drilling. We've seen Newfoundland gold hundreds of thousands of meters. That's a lot of money to be spent. And I've got to ask the question for all explorers in this market, which is, name of games is to stay alive and be able to kind of continue to actually get on with the job of drilling, finding, making discoveries, etc. And then eventually, hopefully, putting some economics on it. So how do you feel you got to play this moving forward when you look around you at what else is happening? Are there clues as to the best way to come at it?
You mean in terms of having success with your exploration program?
Yeah. Because if you're going to have to do, really tight, 5 meter, 10 meter step outs versus 50, 200 meter step outs, it's a different sort of game, right? To trying to work out what the controls are, trying to work out what, how these things run. How do you, as a small explorer, do it? Are we going to see more M&A in the district? Are we going to see more mergers, more? Of these, you've done deals with Benton, so are there more consolidation plays to be happening here?
They're quite possible, and you know what? I'd be lying if I said there was that I haven't heard little birds chirping in the woods. No one has actually approached me about anything of the sort. So no, there won't be any takeover rumors spawned from this interview today. But are they possible? Of course. Could they happen? Yes. And should they happen? Maybe. But it brings up a point that I'll continue on with the bulk sample. We're also taking next summer a surgically collected, if you want to call it that, bulk sample with a company called Nova Mira, and they've got a proprietary technology of mapping out high grade quartz veins, and they have a drill. Basically, it's a boring machine. It actually drills, not core, but holes up to a meter, meter and a half, 2 meters in diameter, focused only on the high grade mineralization. So for those nuggety systems that you can't put the tonnage together, or for one reason or another, you can't get a resource that anyone will hang a hat on, we're taking 2 bulk samples. So we're taking the conventional one, which will probably have a grade of a few grams per ton. If we take 1,000 cubic meters of material from the footwall splay with Nova Mira, which is where we've done our test drilling to date, with an average grade of 60 grams per ton, suddenly then you're looking at self-financing almost. Potentially 4,000 to 5,000 ounces of gold come out of the ground, Canadian. That's 20 million. That's as much as we've spent on the Moosehead project in 4 years. So maybe that's a possible way to kind of, and as well, you're not selling shares doing these things. You have a budget and you raise the money for that, and then you take what you get out of the ground, and you've got a bank account suddenly with a few dollars in it.
That's kind of interesting. Did we talk about that before, or was someone else talked to me about that before? Nova Mira, where you're basically they're chasing the vein, effectively, aren't they? And extracting that, so they are getting like say six, that would be quite nice way to fund things going forward. But where are you with those conversations? Have they done any test work?
Well, we've actually we're at stage two with them now. We signed a memorandum with Nova Mira about a year ago, and we're actually in stage two now, where we've done two blocks of testing on holes. Now these holes are very close together; they're only a few meters apart, but their technology it probes the holes that you drilled, and actually maps out the shape of the let's call it an ore body for no other way, for no better reason. Basically, the shape of your high grade vein system, and then you basically drill it out with these holes that there's there's no waste, there's no crushing involved. You basically take a crushed product to a mill for processing. It's there's no environmental mess. It's almost perfect in a way, if you want, but it's still a ways from being economically proven. And there will be a couple of companies. We're one of them that will be doing this with Nova Mira next year. Great Atlantic is the first to actually, I guess, get the big rig on site and take a bulk sample with at their Golden Promise project. It's only 70 kilometers from us. So once they're done, we're hoping that it works out, that we get that rig then moved down to our property, and we're we're crushing up some pretty high grade quartz.
Okay, I'd love to speak to them. I don't know if we could in fact an introduction. I think that'll be great for the mining sector, and certainly good for a lot of exploration companies if that helps, as you say, with the dilution part of the exploration story. Okay, so that's a really interesting way of looking at things. Are there other things that you're looking at? You must talk all the time, you guys, the board and management team must talk all the time about, look, it's been tough out there. It continues to be tough. We've got to think creatively about how alternative financing for this thing. So Nova Mira would be one route for you. You've done you're doing in the middle of a spin out on the lithium side of things, but what else? What are the other considerations for you? The options.
But from my side of things, Matt, that there aren't a whole lot. I mean, there's always debt, but no one wants to go into debt. I mean, everyone, and you'll probably get more money than you can shake a stick at, but you got to give it back at some point. But no, I think we just have to, just be very, very focused and stick to what it is we need to do. Obviously there's some things I'd like to do that would require a much bigger treasury to do that, but as well, just from our perspective, just as a company, we're still, Dr. David Collar was just over from Ireland and spent a few days in our beautiful pit that we dug at the Western Trend there, and is walked away with a whole basket now of items that he's got to plug into his overall model for the property. We still haven't drilled our deep holes yet at Moosehead. I'm talking down to 1 kilometer. And that's a potential game changer for us. And that could happen with the first hole we drill there, down depth, that is. So we should have Dr. Collar's report. He's semi-retired, so he's bouncing a lot of time, especially in the winter, living in the UK. I think he's got a place in Portugal that he likes to spend a lot of time in, and I don't blame him. So,
we don't great tax regime in Portugal.
We don't want to bug him too much and tick him off, but we'll get his report, and part of his mandate is to basically point out where he thinks we could possibly poke down some deep holes and find more of what we were delivering in the first year or two of this project's history.
Right. Okay. Right. And then you'll know what you need to do, and then you'll know how much money you're going to need to do it. What can we expect to see from you next year? Do you reckon?
From all projects, say, just in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, I guess value creation, right? So if I look at you, sort of like 10 million market cap, but you've been higher. So what are the things that you think are going to make a difference to the story, which is going to make a difference in the way people look at you and the way people value you?
Well, we're spinning out, and we're going to dividend out some shares to, now obviously the ratio will be pretty low because, we've got a couple 100 million shares outstanding plus. And Vinland, we only have 4 million shares of Vinland, but we're spinning that out, so it's a little bit of payback there on that side of things. Plus, we don't really know yet what the future for Vinland could be in terms of how it will fit into the scheme of things with the new merge co. There are obviously opportunities out there that are probably very appealing, to people right now. But again, that's something I really can't give any kind of guidance on for now. As far as Moosehead goes, the collection and processing, and ultimately what comes out of the other end of the mill at our two gold bulk samples there will go a long way, I think, in helping us understand not just the property itself, but as well putting a little cash in our treasury that isn't dilutionary. And Fleur de Lys, again, we just finished the first holes there, 23. A lot of them are reconnaissance holes, just one-off testing. Either a geochem anomaly or a rock sample or something like that. More work needs to be done there. Results coming pretty soon. But as well, a property that we haven't really talked about a lot, but it's actually been in our portfolio longer than Moosehead, is a property called Crippleback. And Crippleback sits about midway between the Valentine Lake, Calibur's Valentine Lake gold project, and Moosehead. It straddles basically the Valentine Lake shear zone, and it's geologically it has intrusive rocks on it that are equivalent to the Valentine Lake complex. So we've got the structure, the same type of rock, and 7 years ago when we first acquired it, we actually found a little bit of gold on it, not a lot, a couple of grams. But last fall, we were deciding what we're going to do with this project. We ended up running up for a couple of days just to do some look around. We had heard that a logging company was moving in and was going to start basically opening up some roads, some old roads, and refurbishing some new ones. And lo and behold, we ended up finding some copper mineralization in the ditch in kind of the northern part of the property. And we ended up getting, up to 5-6% copper. Again, we haven't made much news on this because, we don't want to start any rumors that we're suddenly leaving gold and heading to copper, much like what happened when we found lithium at Golden Hope. We were accused of being ambulance chasers. But what do you do when you find rocks with minerals in them on your own property? I mean, of course you're going to explore them to a certain degree. So anyway, we're actually drilling a few holes on that one right now because we've got a bit of flow through to spend. So in the new year, you might hear of some news from our Crippleback copper / gold property. But like I said, we don't want to get anyone's hopes up, and we don't want to start something that will just end in disappointment or whatever. But so this project could actually end up becoming something. And again, it's not gold per se. So if it did reach the milestones that we reached with Killick, it could be another something we spin out down the road. But just a little sidebar there for you.
More to come.
Yes.
Okay, Tim. Look, appreciate the catch up with you today. Interesting options in front of you. Stay in touch with us, please, and let us know how you get on. Certainly when some of these drill results start coming through. Okay.
Thank you, and hope you have a great Christmas, Matt.